Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This Namahat program I am dedicating for the spiritual benefit and upliftment of my North American manager, Krishna Kumar Das. May Krishna bless him and protect him. I'm going to speak tonight on the middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad-gītā. The ISKCON founder Acharya, my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, explains that Bhagavad-gītā comprises 18 chapters, and they can be divided into 3 divisions of 6 chapters. And the middle 6 chapters are considered the most confidential chapters. And therefore, the first 6 and last 6 chapters are protective coverings for these middle 6 chapters. I always begin my speaking by chanting the 3rd Shikshastakam prayer. Trinadapi Sunichena Taror Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. I should always think of myself lower than the straw in the street, lower than a blade of grass. I must be more tolerant than the tree. I must offer all respects to others. And I should not think about getting respect from anyone. In such a state of mind, I can easily and always chant the holy name. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, Kalo nastyeva nastyeva, nastyeva gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy and confusion, the only means of salvation is the holy name, the holy name, the holy name of God. And Lord Chaitanya teaches, Nam Namakari Bahuda Nijasara Vasaktis. My Lord, you have hundreds and millions of names, such as Krishna and Govinda. And in these names, you have invested all your transcendental energies and potencies. And although you are easily approachable by chanting your holy names, I commit offenses against your name, offenses against your worship, offenses against your devotees. And because of offenses, therefore I do not achieve any attachment for chanting. So, please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So chapter 7, which is the first of the middle 6 chapters, is called Knowledge of the Absolute. The Absolute is defined in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Vadantat Tattva Vidas Tattvam Yajnanam Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Shabda Iti Bhagavan Uti. That the absolute truth is realized in 3 progressive features. First realization of the absolute truth is the all-pervasive spiritual energy, Brahman. Then, higher than that is realization of the all-pervasive and localized feature known as Paramatma, God, Krishna, within the heart of every living entity and even within every atom. And then the ultimate feature of the Absolute Truth, Bhagavan, realizing the personality of Godhead. And it is the personality of Godhead who is the speaker of Bhagavad-gītā. And therefore, throughout Bhagavad-gītā, we see this phrase, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the personality of Godhead said. So that is the Absolute. So this chapter, knowledge of the Absolute. So there are 30 verses in this chapter. And the first 3 verses gives us some understanding of knowing Krishna. The chapter begins where chapter 6 left off. At the end of chapter 6, Krishna gave his opinion, my dear Arjuna, that first of all, it is better to be a yogi than a karmi. But then he said, but of all kinds of yogis, because there are different kinds of yogis. There are karma yogis, jnana yogis, hatha yogis, rajbhoga yogis, kriya yogis. But Krishna said, but of all these different kinds of yogis, the topmost is the bhakti yogi. And Krishna explains who is the bhakti yogi. He has firm faith in Krishna, Shraddhavan. He is completely faithful to Krishna. So chapter 7 picks up where chapter 6 leaves off. And Krishna explains to Arjuna that he should listen, try to hear Bhagavad-gītā. Tat Shrinu. Try to hear. We will not always understand everything about Bhagavad-gītā. But if we try to hear, then gradually the knowledge will be revealed. So Krishna in this chapter is going to explain things that are more advanced, more confidential. And so he wants Arjuna to hear. And the secret of hearing is called rapt attention. That you do not let your mind wander or be diverted. That you try to hear. Then in the 3rd verse, Krishna explains that actually someone who understands him is very, very rare. Because, first of all, most people are not interested in spiritual life. Less people are interested in achieving perfection of spiritual life. And of those who have achieved perfection, in other words, they have realized that Brahman feature, or they may have realized Paramatma feature. But to realize Bhagavan as he is, that is very, very rarely achieved. So it's out of those who have achieved perfection, Krishna says, maybe you'll find someone who understands. Then, the next 3 verses, Krishna explains the 2 different prakritis, the 2 different natures, the 2 different energies. There is the material energy and there is the spiritual energy. In the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna explains there are 8 separated material energies, separated from him. Just like, to give an example, I am recording this lecture. So this recording is my separated energy. later next week, I will play back this recording, and it will play back exactly what I'm speaking now. So it's my separated energy. So Krishna explains that there are earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. 8 separated material energies. But then he says, but there's another energy. And this energy is superior. Therefore, it is understood that the material energy is the inferior energy. And that is why Krishna himself does not sport or enjoy by means of the material energy. Rather, Krishna enjoys and sports in that superior spiritual energy or nature. And in this section of Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, what is that spiritual nature or spiritual energy which is superior to the material energy? It comprises the living entities, which was the very first thing Krishna explained in Bhagavad-gītā. The difference between matter and spirit. The living entity, the soul, is not material. And that is the first thing one has to understand coming to this Bhagavad-gītā. That I am not this body, because this body is inferior nature, material. The soul, nature, the nature of the soul is the superior energy. But Krishna says these living entities who are in the material world, they are either trying to exploit the material energy for sense gratification, or they're utilizing it to serve him. These are the only two purposes of this material energy. Coming to this material world, the soul has two options. Therefore, some souls, they're trying to enjoy this material energy, trying to exploit it. And that is the root cause of all the problems in this world. The root problem is everybody's fighting each other for dominance. Who can get the most enjoyment? It's for me, it's for my enjoyment. That's called material consciousness. But the other purpose of this material manifestation is for devotees. They do not want to exploit the material world. They want to use it to serve Krishna. Just like here in this temple, right outside, they're making a new temple. So that new temple is made of earth, water, fire, air. It is made of material elements. But the temple is not planning on constructing that new temple with the purpose of enjoying or exploiting. They're making the new temple to serve Krishna, to serve the community. Therefore, that is the best way to use this material energy in the service of God. Then, the next section of chapter 7, Krishna explains that everything in this material world, he gives a very nice example, like pearls strung on a thread. That pearl necklace hangs nicely, but if you snip the thread, all the pearls come spilling out onto the floor. So this material cosmic manifestation exists only because there is a thread keeping it together. And that thread is Krishna. He says, I am that thread that keeps this material world together. Then in the next section of Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna explains something about the material energy. This material energy, even though it's the inferior energy, at the same time, it is Krishna's potency. And because it is Krishna's potency, it is insurmountable. It is too powerful to overcome. And therefore, Krishna gives only one solution to rid yourself of the clutches of this material nature. He says, you have to surrender to Him. Then you can escape the clutches of the material energy, because that is what happens. Those who try to exploit the material energy, what happens is, instead of enjoying it, they become entangled. They think they're enjoying it. They're allowed to think like that for some time. But eventually, the conditioned soul, trying to exploit or control the material energy, becomes entangled, because she is Krishna's energy. Durga Mata is Krishna's energy. And she is insurmountable. And Krishna says, if you want to escape, there's only one solution. You have to surrender to me. So then, in the next section, there is some discussion of surrendering. And Krishna explains that there are 4 kinds of persons who will never surrender to Krishna. They are known as the mudhas, those who will work hard day and night trying to exploit the material nature. They don't surrender. Then there are those who think themselves very, very learned in the material world, and because of their puffed up, they think they know so much, and because of that pride and their belief in their own abilities, they also conclude why I should surrender to Krishna. Then there are those Naradama. They're human beings, but they have no interest in understanding God and the soul. They think the purpose of life is just to enjoy, and therefore they're called two-legged animals. And then the last class, Asura, the atheist, the hardcore atheist, the demon, who not only rejects God, who not only defiles God, but hates those who do believe in God. They are the worst. But then Krishna says, there are 4 other kinds of people who begin to surrender. Because they're pious, because they are not sinful, they begin to surrender to Krishna. Why? Because they need something. They desire something. But they're pious. So they go to Krishna and ask for material benefits. Or they're in distress. And to get relief from distress, they pray to Krishna. Then there are those who are inquisitive. Who is this Krishna? Let me find out who is this Krishna. And so therefore, they inquire. That's very good, because they have a pious background. And then there is the person who wants and will come to the stage of understanding Krishna as he is. They are factually in knowledge. They have accepted a spiritual master. They have accepted the Shastras. And they are on the quick path to Krishna. The next section of chapter 7 is called Facts Regarding Demigod Worship. In 4 verses, Krishna explains why he does not approve, why he does not recommend worship of demigods. First of all, Krishna says, people are worshiping demigods. Why? Their hearts are dirty. They want to enjoy material things. Okay? Therefore, they think, oh, I will worship the demigod and quickly get my material desires fulfilled. But Krishna says, even though their hearts are distorted by material desires, what they don't know is that the demigods are not independent. They cannot satisfy or fulfill anyone's desires independently. Those demigods who everybody worships, regardless, whatever demigod one worships, that demigod is not independent. He must get the sanction of Krishna. Mayaiva the hitan. The demigod has Krishna in his heart. And when Krishna in the heart sanctions, then the person gets their material desires fulfilled. They are not independent. And Krishna says, and then again, another reason why he does not approve or recommend worship of demigods is because whatever the demigod gives is limited and temporary. Limited. Anything material compared to what the soul actually needs. The soul actually needs spiritual fulfillment, unlimited fulfillment. But material things, regardless, high or low, any material fulfillment is limited. It is not going to satisfy you. It will always be insufficient to satisfy you, regardless of the material pleasure. Doesn't matter. It won't be enough. At the end, you will still feel wanting something more. And not only is it limited, even you get a material benediction, it's temporary. It does not sustain. And this will be explained later in Bhagavad-gītā, that even you go to the heavenly planets, the planet of Indra or Soma, you can stay for some time. Eventually, you have to come back down to earth and begin the process again. You cannot stay there forever. It's temporary. Then the chapter ends with Krishna explaining who can and who cannot know God. And this is very simple. In the 4th chapter, Krishna explained that the reason he was explaining this Bhagavad-gītā to Arjuna was because Arjuna had 2 qualifications. Bhakto sime shaka eti. Arjuna, I am speaking Bhagavad-gītā because you are my devotee, you are my friend. So, if you want to understand Krishna, first you must become sinless. You must give up meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex. These are the 4 pillars of sinful life. These must be given up with a strict vow. Then one has to become submissive. One cannot know God and at the same time challenge Him. One must become submissive. That's why in chapter 4, Krishna told Arjuna, you must accept a spiritual master. You must serve the spiritual master. You must inquire from the spiritual master submissively. Not challenging. No. Submissive and in a service mood, rendering service. And Krishna says that understanding this Bhagavad-gītā and coming to the platform of surrendering to Krishna is the topmost platform of life. Hare Krishna,